Hey everybody, this is Craig from Live Volt Games, and today I'm going to be doing my interpretations video for Silent Hill 2. Because I just did my Silent Hill HD collection playthrough for Silent Hill 2, and I said right at the end of it, for those of you who didn't watch it, I said I was going to do my interpretations of the enemies and the endings. The endings, not so much interpretations, I'm just going to talk about them, but the enemies definitely have interpretations, and when the Book of Memories, not the shitty Vita game, when the Book of Memories came out, it was actually a book in Japan, like it had all the art and stuff of the enemies, and it had a little description of them. When it came to Silent Hill 2, the creator said that it's best for the interpretation of the enemies to be left up to the player. He actually verbally said that. He didn't say that in the book. And what I think is really cool about that is that pretty much everybody's on the same level with every enemy. And you'll realize that as I go through them, you're going to be like, I've heard that from this website, I've heard that from this website. The basis of all of them are the same, because there are some things with enemies that are like blatantly obvious that you can't ignore. So, we'll go through and I will tell you about that. I gotta yawn every video, every fucking video. Alright, I want to say this too, just because I can. My HD collection review, there's a man in the sidebar who's like doing a funny face like this in the video. I just want to deliver a fuck you to him. I don't know who he is, but if you can go on, just tell him to check out my video and that he's a piece of shit and he shouldn't make videos bashing something before he actually owns it. I know, earlier I said something about Book of Memories, and I don't own that either. Nobody does, because it's not out yet. But anyways, he just talked a bunch of shit about it, and it actually pissed me off, because I did a playthrough of 2, and half the shit in there that he was showing, like the picture of the water, that's where that picture of his face came from. Picture of the water in Silent Hill 2, that's not what it looked like. You guys can watch my playthrough. I even pointed out right in the ending video, I was like, water's not shitty, but I digress. Alright, so Silent Hill 2, we're talking about enemies, and what they mean. So I'll go off first, and I'll talk about the lying figure. Now, the lying figure is the guy. I don't know if you guys remember. If you don't know enemy names, the guys. They're the ones who have like no openings. You can see their butt. Their butt cheeks are like perfectly shiny. I don't know why. And it looks like they have their arms stuck in skin up here. And I think that one's pretty straightforward. Interpretation is that it's the first enemy that James sees. A lot of spoilers in this, I'm sorry. If you haven't beat Silent Hill 2, just stop listening right now. Alright, so throughout Silent Hill, you slowly start to see the town get really messed up, and then it peaks, and then it goes back down, and the town starts going back to normal, like when you're in the hotel, and instead of it being like fully restored, it goes back to normal where it's burnt down, and there's police tape everywhere, and blah, blah, blah. So, the lying figure is the first enemy that James encounters in the game, and it's kind of a metaphor for like things to come. Is that they're like this, they're trapped in their own skin, and that's pretty much what James is. James is trapped in his own skin, he's trapped in his mind, everything that happens is because of him, so he's pretty much just suffering by himself. And that's true. Actually, it's kind of like a metaphor for every character in the game. They're all suffering by themselves because of themselves, so they're suffering in their own skin. I think that's pretty straightforward. Then there's the bugs. I think they're just bugs. I don't think there's really any interpretation in them, except that they can kill you really easy. Again, if they're yawning. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. So tired. And then there's the mannequins that I believe represent James' repressed sexuality. Like, that's one you're going to hear on every website, just because it's 2 pairs of legs, and James can come off as very like objectifying when it comes to Maria, because, you know, the first thing is like, oh, you know, you're not like my wife, look at the way you dress, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that part I think is pretty straightforward, and plus the interaction with the Pyramid Head and the mannequins, it kind of sums it up, which I'll get back into when I talk about Pyramid Head. And then after that we have the Bubble Nurses, and the Bubble Nurses is definitely about the repressed sexuality of James, because the Bubble Nurses have the voluptuous body of a lady, and it has a smeared face, and I believe that the smeared face is all the back and forth with the medical associates over the years with James and Mary and her illness, so pretty much every face is just probably a blur to him of doctors and blah blah blah. But obviously when nurses came around, he probably checked them out because his wife is sick and they're, you know, able-bodied women. But I think that's what that represents, is his repressed sexuality, but also the seeing so many doctors and stuff that pretty much everyone in the whole medical world to him is just faceless. And what was the other ones? Oh, the hangers. I like these ones, the hangers, because the hangers are totally misrepresented. You don't fight them or anything. In certain transitions of the game, you see the hangers. Now, there's a bigger version of them in Part 3. The hangers are the things that crawl on the floor whenever you're walking through a metal grate. And there's only 2 areas, really, they appear, and they're transition points. When Silent Hill goes from just being the foggy town into the nighttime, raining, really dark, gritty, like, nasty place, even though it already starts in a nasty place. The hallway from one side to the other, there's a grate in the middle, and the hangers are going there. And it's like, there's 2 interpretations. It's like something trying to pull you down to its level, like a beast is trying to pull you down to its level. So it's like James is in denial about everything that he's done, and it's like it's trying to be pulled down. But on the flip side of it, it's like he's if it's to represent anything to do with him, it's like they're hanging on. So pretty much James is just hanging on through this entire game. So I definitely think that's what that represents. Also, he feels that he's beneath everybody. I don't know. That one kind of pulled out my ass. But I don't know. That's another one. Like you're beneath everybody. You're in the bottom. You know, he's definitely not a bottom. If he had anything to do with Pyramid Head, he'd be whatever. Anyways, listen, I'm going on a tangent. So the next enemy I would say is what? Pyramid Head. No, I'm gonna go to Maria first. We're gonna go to Maria. Maria is pretty straightforward. I don't really need to pull anything out from Maria. Maria was born from the wish of James. He wanted to see his wife. So Maria obviously represents Mary, but in the way that he wants her to be, or he wanted her to be. That's my interpretation, is that Maria is everything that James wanted Mary to be, and then she wasn't. So I thought that was the point of her. And then clearly, when he distances himself from her, she becomes a fierce deity that he must kill, which is actually a nice picture. You know, the final boss looked like Mary, like the Mother Mary, inside of a hospital bed. So I thought that was pretty cool. But she turned out to be a demon, succubus demon. But I also think that Maria was put in the game to just continuously punish, or put in Silent Hill to continuously punish James via or through Pyramid Head. And then it goes on to my interpretation of Pyramid Head. My interpretation of Pyramid Head is one that some people have and some people don't. I believe that Pyramid Head is James, like it's supposed to represent James. And I will go as far as to say that the big, it looks like kitchen sink on his head, big pyramid, is like him being trapped inside of his head. And then while he's trapped inside of his head, he's blind, he can't see, he's full of rage, and that's how he killed Mary. And I think that that's totally representative, because when James got so like sick of being bogged down and suffocated by Mary that he choked her out, stuffed her out with a pillow. And anytime you see Pyramid Head, obviously he's doing something aggressive to something. Everyone's like, he's always raping. He's not always raping, it's just implied. He is tossing a lying figure salad, though, the first time you go and fight him, which I thought was funny. But he is always doing something sexual, and it's like base instinct. It's probably like right there with James, you know, being like, oh, well, he was ready to murder, but he's also looking at everything in like a sexual way. He probably was about to rape. He probably was a monster who rapes. But it's just those things that you keep in the back of your mind, like his wife's sick, so he wants to bang something, you know what I mean? But and the brutality of it all. And I think it was just like I said, the basic instinct version of James. Not like Sharon Stone spreading her legs. It was it was James, but it was like the most brutal side of him, what he actually is, what he was in Silent Hill for, and they continuously keep killing Maria in front of him just to show James what he's done, and they'll show him what he's done over and over and over until he gets it. And to help further prove this, you can't actually kill Pyramid Head. Everything's time-based when you fight him. So by the time you actually get to the point where you fight him and James finally realizes the last time they stab Maria, James is like, oh, I get why I needed you here. I understand this now. We need to end this, but you don't end this. They kill themselves. And then it kind of continues on if you get the in-water ending, because in the in-water ending, James kills himself. So I don't know which one's canon. I actually don't think any of the ones are canon. Obviously, the dog and the UFO one probably are not canon. But, yeah, I just think that Pyramid Head is significant to James and is James. I know that, obviously, they have lore throughout the story, like, you know, the executioner is the pyramid. And then I think they just did that and had him manifested in James's version of Silent Hill instead of in everybody's, just to be like, James saw this picture of, you know, or probably has seen it before, of this executioner, and since he was Mary's executioner, that's the picture he saw. And that's what makes me so mad when I see Pyramid Head in, like, Silent Hill Homecoming. They said they're going to put him in the fucking Book of Memories on Vita, and he's in the movie, and well, I think it's cool that he made an appearance in the movie. It makes me a little upset that they use Pyramid Head like that, because, and it will make any fan of 2 upset, because Pyramid Head is, like, significant to James. That's the way they are. I just don't know. Like if you were to think, like, he's not even really a bad guy. He's more of just, like, someone who pokes at you the entire game, who can kill you, but he pokes at you. It's the equivalent of, like, Harry and Dahlia in the first one. Dahlia pops up, obviously Dahlia pops up in other games, but they're games that revolve around Part 1. Do you know what I mean? Like in Shattered Memories, a different version of Dahlia is in it, and then in Origins, but that has a direct connection. But I mean, like, they're not being like, oh, Silent Hill 4, let's throw Dahlia in there for no reason. You know, you don't do that. So in Homecoming, it really made me mad. But when I get to Homecoming, I'll talk all about that. But I just wish they wouldn't overuse him, man, and overkill him, and change his design. It's just dumb. I guess they could argue the point, well, he would look different to everybody in their worlds, but fuck that. I don't know. Oh, and let's talk about character specific, by the way, because when I do endings, I'll do it. Okay, I'm getting off track. All right, so the ending I got was ending Leave with Laura. I got to leave Silent Hill with Laura. That's it. Obviously, it's a good ending. I got that because I didn't look at the letter, I didn't look at the knife, and I didn't look at the picture. I didn't really care about Maria when I was running around with her, and I did it with as few kills as possible, and I did it quickly. I got the Leave ending, and that's a good ending. Best ending you can really get in the game. And you leave with Laura, and obviously he does that because if you read the letter, you see that Mary wanted to adopt Laura if things were different, and it's like he gets to keep part of Mary because she was friends with her. You get to leave with Maria. That's a horrible ending. People might not realize that. It's a horrible, horrible ending. You leave with Maria, knowing that Maria is a succubi of some kind, and she wants to... she's going to make you do it again, because when you leave, she stops and she coughs. So clearly, she's going to get sick with, I assume Mary had cancer. And, yeah. It's going to start all over again. Then you get the in-water, where James kills himself. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. You get that Maria ending for spending more time helping her out, but ignoring the things that are Mary's. If you don't ignore the things that are Mary's, if you look at the letter, you look at the picture, and then you look at Angela's knife repeatedly, you will kill yourself by the end of the game. So there's that one. I do believe that one's canon, because he just disappears, and that's according to 4, but he just disappears and doesn't come back. Or it's just safe to assume that he dies in any of the endings. And then there's the Rebirth ending. The Rebirth ending is, you can get it after you complete the game once. You get, the items like the Book of Memories and the White Chrism and the Obsidian Gauntlet. And then, what's the last one? I don't remember what the last one is. The medallion, right? Anyways, you get all of them, and you beat the game, and then it shows him rowing a boat, and through all the literature that you've read, you basically understand that you're going to do this rebirth ceremony to try and bring Mary back. Anyways. Then there's a dog ending, which I believe is the dog that Eddie shot. It doesn't ever come out and say that, but that's what I strongly believe, is that that's the dog that Eddie shot. And then there's a UFO ending that's just hilarious in all of them. But I don't know. That's just what I feel about that. I don't know. And then as for characters, I do think it's this one isn't really symbolism, but it's stuff that you notice. Every time Eddie's around, there's dead bodies all over the place in the freezer room. However, when you fight Eddie, there's no dead bodies around in the room that you fight him in. There's just bodies of what look like fat people's stomachs. I know it's cow shanks, but it actually looks like fat people, and you kill him in that room. I just thought that was interesting because every dead body that's around him is skinny, super skinny, and I do notice that. I didn't notice it was so much. It was the graphics from back in the day, but through the HD collection, I kind of noticed that everyone that Eddie killed was skinny, and they all looked about the same. And then obviously Angela's always in a panic, always running, and then you find out at the end of the game that every time you see her, she thinks that everything's on fire. There isn't much to interpret with her. There's always some kind of childish thing around. Like, I don't mean childish, like, I mean like a child's object, or the way that she's talking. Like, first time you say it, she says mama. The second time, there's stuffed animals and shit all around the room. She's in a little kid's room. And then the weird one, that the last time you see her, where you actually see her into her world, there's the fucking body plastered on the wall with the blood coming out from the crotch. And then I do like this, though. A lot of people don't notice this one, but when you're in the room where you fight her dad, the abstract daddy, when she tells you her story, basically, there's like holes of meat all around the top of the room, and there's just cylinders just continuously going through them. So that's one to think about there. I don't need to tell you what that means. And then one thing that's cool that you don't have to find out, but you can notice throughout the game, there's dead bodies all over. In like every area of the game, there's like one dead body dressed up like James. The most noticeable one is you get the key off the corpse. The first key you get in the game, or you can get in the game if you follow my walkthrough, is the key to an apartment building. That's on a corpse that's dressed like James. And then there's another one in the apartment building. He's the one sitting in front of the TV like this. He actually dies like Harry dies in 3. And there's the one that Pyramid Head killed. He's dressed like James. He looks exactly like James. So I think that was cool. That's some things. I mean, if I think of anything else interpretive, I will go on and do it. But other than that, there's a lot of hidden meaning in this game, and I really think that it definitely is up to you and your interpretation of the way that you play the game. I've heard different on certain things. People disagree with what I say, and that's okay because, like he said, man, it's totally up to the player to decide what things mean. And I'd be interested to know what you guys think certain things mean. Write it down below. Thank you guys for watching.